Welcome back to Share Science, the weekly science brief for May 18th, 2026. I'm Curie.
And I'm Derek.
Okay, so get this. Scientists just found a way to store sunlight inside liquid molecules, and it could completely change how we think about solar energy storage.
Wait, sunlight inside a liquid? That sounds like something out of science fiction.
It does, but it's very real. Researchers at UC Santa Barbara have developed a liquid material that absorbs sunlight, stores the energy in its molecular structure, and releases it later as heat. This could solve one of the biggest challenges in renewable energy: how to store solar power efficiently for when the sun isn't shining.
That's incredible. But before we dive into the future of solar energy, let's start with something a little closer to home. What if I told you that the multivitamins sitting on your kitchen counter might actually be slowing down your aging?
That's exactly where we're starting today. A new study published in Nature Medicine found that taking a daily multivitamin slowed biological aging in older adults by about 4 months over 2 years. And they measured this using epigenetic clocks, one of the most advanced tools in aging research.
4 months doesn't sound like much at first, but I'm guessing there's more to this story.
Oh, there's a lot more. First, this wasn't just any study. It was a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, the gold standard in clinical research. Nearly 1,000 participants, all around 70 years old, were randomly assigned to take either a multivitamin, a cocoa extract, both, or neither. The multivitamin group showed consistent slowing of biological aging across 5 different epigenetic clocks.
And these epigenetic clocks, what exactly are they measuring?
Great question. Epigenetic clocks analyze DNA methylation, which are tiny chemical tags that attach to your DNA and regulate which genes are turned on or off. These patterns change predictably as we age, so by analyzing them, scientists can estimate your biological age, how old your cells are behaving, as opposed to your chronological age.
So this is about your cells actually functioning as if they're younger, not just feeling younger.
Exactly. Biological age is a much stronger predictor of health outcomes and even mortality than your chronological age. And in this study, the multivitamin group showed statistically significant slowing in the 2 clocks most closely linked to mortality risk.
That's fascinating. But were there specific groups of people who benefited more than others?
Yes, the people who were biologically older than their chronological age at the start of the study seemed to benefit the most. This suggests that the multivitamin might be addressing nutritional deficiencies rather than providing a universal anti-aging effect. It's an important nuance because it means this isn't a magic bullet. It's more about filling in gaps in nutrition, especially for older adults.
So if you're already eating a balanced diet, a multivitamin might not do much. But for people with nutritional gaps, it could make a real difference.
Exactly. And the researchers emphasize that this doesn't replace a healthy diet or lifestyle, but it can be a helpful supplement. If you're curious to learn more, search for Cosmos Multivitamin Epigenetic Aging, Nature Medicine 2026.
From the cutting-edge science of our DNA, let's travel back in time, 146,000 years to be exact. This next story is about ancient humans in China making tools that are far more advanced than we ever thought possible for that period.
Yes, during one of the harshest glacial periods in the Pleistocene, scientists discovered stone tools that show an incredible level of sophistication. These tools were made by a recently recognized human species called Homo juluensis, and they're rewriting what we thought we knew about early human cognition in Asia.
It feels like the story of human evolution in Asia has been getting more and more complex over the years. What's the big picture here?
For a long time, the prevailing narrative was pretty linear. Modern humans evolved in Africa, spread into Europe and Asia, and replaced any archaic humans they encountered, who were thought to be relatively primitive. But discoveries like this are flipping that narrative. Homo juluensis is a species that's distinct from both modern humans and Neanderthals. And these tools show they were capable of complex, deliberate planning.
What makes these tools so special compared to what we found before?
The tools show evidence of careful planning and execution. Researchers were able to reconstruct the flaking process by fitting the pieces back together. And it's clear that these tools weren't made opportunistically. The makers selected the right raw materials, tested the stones, and executed multiple, precise steps to achieve a specific result. This level of cognitive planning is remarkable, especially given the harsh climate conditions they were living in.
And how does the climate factor into this?
There's a hypothesis in paleoanthropology called the variability selection hypothesis. It suggests that periods of intense environmental pressure drive innovation. When resources are scarce and conditions are brutal, organisms that can adapt flexibly and innovate have a survival advantage. These tools are a perfect example of that, adversity driving sophistication.
It's incredible to think about how much we're still learning about our ancient relatives. If you want to dive deeper, search for Homo juluensis stone tools Ice Age China, 146,000 years, 2026.
Speaking of rewriting what we thought we knew, let's talk about dinosaurs. This next story is about dinosaur fossils that might still contain their original proteins, something scientists thought was impossible until recently.
This takes me back to 2005, when Mary Schweitzer first found what looked like soft tissue inside a T-Rex femur. That discovery sparked a huge debate because, according to what we knew then, organic molecules shouldn't survive tens of millions of years.
Exactly, and the debate has been ongoing ever since. But this week, researchers published new evidence that some of this preserved material is indeed original biological protein. They used mass spectrometry and immunological testing on multiple dinosaur specimens and found protein sequences that match known animal proteins but don't match any modern organisms or bacteria.
So it's not contamination. It's really from the dinosaurs themselves.
That's what the evidence suggests. And the sequences are most similar to proteins found in birds, which makes sense because birds are the living descendants of theropod dinosaurs.
But how do proteins survive for tens of millions of years? What's the mechanism?
The leading hypothesis involves a process called cross-linking. Under certain burial conditions, proteins can become chemically linked to the mineral matrix of the bone, making them extraordinarily stable. They essentially become part of the fossil while retaining their molecular structure.
And this opens up a whole new field of study, paleoproteomics. If we can extract and sequence ancient proteins, we could learn so much more about evolutionary relationships and even dinosaur biology.
It's an exciting frontier. If you're curious, search for Dinosaur Fossil Original Proteins Preserved Mass Spectrometry 2026.
From dinosaurs to modern medicine, let's talk about serotonin. It's the brain chemical we associate with feeling good, but it turns out it might be making tinnitus worse.
This is such a surprising finding. Tinnitus is the perception of sound, ringing, buzzing, or hissing, in the absence of an external source. It's a symptom that can arise from many causes, and it affects millions of people. But this week, researchers identified a specific serotonin-driven circuit in the auditory cortex that amplifies the neural activity associated with tinnitus.
And this ties into antidepressants, right? Many of them work by increasing serotonin levels.
Exactly. SSR is the most common class of antidepressants, lists tinnitus as a possible side effect, but until now, we didn't understand why. This research suggests that more serotonin in the auditory system might amplify tinnitus signals. It's a major clue for developing targeted treatments.
If you want to read more, search for Serotonin Tinnitus Auditory Cortex Circuit 2026.
Finally, let's end on a story that feels like science fiction. Scientists have created a liquid material that captures sunlight and stores it as heat inside molecules.
This is about solving the solar energy storage problem, right? Solar panels are great at capturing sunlight, but storing it for use at night is still a challenge.
Exactly. This material, called a molecular solar thermal energy storage compound, or MOST, works by flipping between two molecular configurations. When exposed to sunlight, the molecule absorbs the energy and flips into a high-energy state. It stays in that state until you trigger it to release the energy as heat.
And the fact that it's a liquid makes it incredibly versatile. You could pump it through pipes, coat surfaces with it, or integrate it into buildings.
It's an elegant solution to a complex problem. If you're curious, search for Molecular Solar Thermal Energy Storage Liquid UC Santa Barbara 2026.
That's it for this week. From multivitamins slowing aging to bottling sunlight, science continues to amaze.
Stay curious, everyone.